Morning, everyone, and thank you for joining this webinar. It is now 10 o'clock and is the time that the webinar is scheduled to start. This is a pre-recorded webinar. However, Nigel Mullins is here with us, so he will be able to answer any question you've got regarding the contents of the webinar if you just drop a message on the chat box. The webinar is going to be recorded with the questions as well, and you will receive an email with the recording in 24 hours from the end of the webinar. So we are going to start now. If you have any questions, as I said, just drop them in the chat and Nigel will answer them for you. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a new series of webinars brought to you by the Cloud Solution Architects here at Ingram Micro Cloud. My name is Nigel Mullins, and I'm a Cloud Solution Architect focusing on Microsoft's public cloud, Microsoft Azure. As you can see from the badges, I'm certified in various areas of Microsoft Azure. However, the one most relevant to this webinar is the Azure Virtual Desktop specialty, which is actually my most recent Azure cert. I think it's become apparent over the last couple of years that remote working is here to stay. Today I'll be talking to you about the benefits of Azure Virtual Desktop in remote working scenarios and how you can leverage the power of the cloud to provide an end-to-end remote working VDI solution in the cloud for your customers. On June the 7th, 2021, Microsoft officially renamed Windows Virtual Desktop to Azure Virtual Desktop. So you may still see some references to Windows Virtual Desktop when looking for any documentation around the service. But it's not just about a name change. Azure Virtual Desktop brings enhanced security, remote app streaming with a per-user pricing option, and a quick start experience which lets you deploy Azure Virtual Desktop with the click of a button. Azure Virtual Desktop enables a secure remote desktop Windows 10 multi-session experience from anywhere. Let's dive straight in. I want to start with a short video that was actually created when the service was still called Windows Virtual Desktop, and it'll let you see what it looks like for a user connecting to an Azure Virtual Desktop session. In this example, Azure Virtual Desktop connection has been integrated into the Start menu, and the connection to my remote desktop session has been pinned to the Start menu, as you can see. So that's logging into an Azure Virtual Desktop full desktop, which is a Windows 10 multi-session operating system. As you can see from the system settings, the operating system is Windows 10 Enterprise for virtual desktops, which is only available in Azure Virtual Desktop. It also supports modern applications, Edge browser, supports containerized apps, Outlook running in cached mode, and I can see I have connectivity to OneDrive. I can synchronize my files, pull them down from OneDrive, make them available always on my local session. And as you can see in this Windows 10 environment, it's still a full remote desktop environment, and I can see multiple users connected as I would in a server RDS deployment. That was a sneak preview into Azure Virtual Desktop from an end user perspective, and hopefully gives you a brief insight into the look and feel of a Windows 10 multi-session Azure Virtual Desktop solution. If we think about what's changing in the modern workplace, more and more people have no assigned work location. With the rapid shift to remote work and bring your own device policies, providing users with secure, appropriate access to compute resources is more challenging than ever. Microsoft are constantly innovating on how they deliver IT services and have produced new ways to apply the power of cloud technologies to better support the way you work today. A key approach that Microsoft recommend is virtualization, running more than one instance of an operating system or process on a single server. With that in mind, let's take a closer look at Microsoft's Cloud VDI service, Azure Virtual Desktop. Virtualization helps companies address virtualization-specific business needs, such as more secure access to data and organizational resources, compliance with industry regulations such as FSI, healthcare, and government, an increasingly elastic workforce, such as mergers and acquisitions, short-term employees, contractor and partner access, employee-specific business needs, as I alluded to earlier, bring your own device or mobile staff, call centers, branch workers, and specialized workloads such as design and engineering, legacy apps, software and development test scenarios, where Azure Virtual Desktop helps employees stay as productive with virtualized experience on a PC, phone, tablet, or browser as they are with a physical PC sitting right in front of them. Helps simplify management, provisioning, and access to corporate data and apps, and supports customers as they migrate to the cloud. Azure Virtual Desktop helps reduce costs and resources associated with managing on-prem infrastructure, and helps empower IT to transform the workplace. Azure Virtual Desktop, or AVD, provides a full Windows 10 and Office experience which is optimized for Office 365 Pro Plus. You can also migrate your existing RDS deployment to Azure and deploy and scale the service in minutes. Azure Virtual Desktop is available worldwide. For users, Azure Virtual Desktop offers a full Windows 10 Enterprise experience including Edge, Cortana, and Store. Familiar Office 365 Pro Plus user experience in a multi-session environment. GPU acceleration for encoding and video provides improved responsiveness and smooth video playback. User can access built-in or attached cameras in the remote applications or remote desktops with new and legacy Windows applications. For IT administrators and teams, the multi-session Windows 10 available in Azure Virtual Desktop adds efficiency and ease of management for devices and everyday apps. Reduces IT costs by up to 4 times as many users compared to the Windows 10 Enterprise single session, and simplifies management on Azure with a single image for both single session and multi-user. So let's take a look at where Azure Virtual Desktop is now generally available. The service is globally available with management planes in the US, Europe, Japan, India, Singapore, Australia, and Brazil. There's also a tool available called the Experience Estimator that can be used to help you understand what your latency looks like. Microsoft are also planning an aggressive rollout to continue to expand the global coverage to meet customer needs. On top of that, in 2020, Microsoft introduced new service metadata storage in the US and Europe so that you can choose the geography you want to store your service metadata for the best possible regulatory compliance and performance. Windows 10 multi-session operating system is only available in Azure Virtual Desktop. It's highly scalable, always up to date, and available on any device. Azure Virtual Desktop provides single-session and multi-session Windows 10 for pooled and personal full desktops, Microsoft Store and legacy application remoting, and for customers who are upgrading from Windows 7, Azure Virtual Desktop includes free Windows 7 extended security updates through 2023. Enable optimizations for Microsoft 365, including features in Teams such as AV redirection. deliver a constant Windows 10 and Office 365 experience for users across local and virtual workspaces. New FSLogix technologies make Office 365 much more performant in a multi-user virtual environment, as we saw in the short video showing Outlook and OneDrive cache. FSLogix Profile Container enables full access to OneDrive, ability to run Outlook in cache mode, and dramatically speeds up logon and application launch times. Office 365 optimized for multi-session virtualization deployments. Migrate an existing RDS deployment of Windows Server desktops and apps to Azure Virtual Desktop. Azure Virtual Desktop provides support for Server 2012 and RDS 2012 R2 and above. And Microsoft's App Assure is Microsoft's application compatibility promise, which I'll touch on in a later slide. Azure Virtual Desktop has recently been updated to include a simplified management user interface in the Azure portal. This lets you quickly virtualize and deploy modern and legacy desktop application experiences in minutes with unified management in the Azure portal. Azure has data centers available in 54 regions in 140 countries. All data centers have built-in security and compliance in Windows and within the Azure infrastructure. And Azure Virtual Desktop specifically has a huge partner ecosystem extensibility with partners such as Citrix and VMware, which I'll touch on in a later slide. If we start to look at some of the benefits of Azure Virtual Desktop, I picked out some of the key benefits here, like multi-session Windows 10 operating system, which is only available in Azure Virtual Desktop. We've got Windows Server 2012 R2 and above support. Allows you to virtualize desktops and applications, which is an area that Microsoft have invested heavily in this part of the service, and I'll touch on application streaming shortly. And conditional access with Intune. And if you look at some of the benefits for mobility, users can access the solution from any device, anywhere. The security benefits, the business data for the solution never leaves Azure. Scalability, the solution can adjust to fluctuations in your workforce. And compatibility, older applications can run virtualized. Performance benefits, applications remain close to the data. Management with a single pane of glass. And for cost, you have full control over the session host and the virtual machine, and you're able to use the elasticity of Azure to take advantage of some of the cost savings. As I alluded to earlier, another huge benefit of Azure Virtual Desktop is remote app streaming. It allows you to migrate Windows applications to Azure and use Azure Virtual Desktop to stream those apps to customers or employees. Azure Virtual Desktop has always had the ability to stream applications as well as a full desktop, and the typical use case is highlighted here. A lot of our partners and customers use this capability to stream apps to their employees, and we're now starting to see an evolution of this as customers now want to provide applications as a service to their customers. Satya Nadella alluded to this in a recent Ignite, saying that every company is a software company. Microsoft have recently announced a per-user access pricing option for remote app streaming, which allows customers to deliver apps as a service to external customers using Azure Virtual Desktop. There are two pricing tiers for Azure Virtual Desktop per-user access pricing. Charges are determined automatically each billing cycle based on the type of application groups a user connects to. The first pricing tier is called Apps. It's a flat price, and that's charged for each user who accesses at least one remote application group and 0 desktop application groups. The second tier is Apps and Desktops, and this is a flat price for each user who accesses at least one desktop application group. And if a user doesn't access any application groups, then there's no charge. Some of the benefits of streaming applications on Azure are it allows you to migrate existing Windows applications to Azure, where you gain almost infinite cloud scale, the built-in security, agility, and flexibility of Azure, while giving users access from any device virtually anywhere in the world. It's going to allow you to grow your business by enabling all types of applications to run consistently well across the breadth of Windows and other devices, with very little rewrite and hardware requirements. It'll enable new business models such as time-based subscriptions or demos without the need for complex digital rights management solutions to safeguard your intellectual property. It'll allow you to expand into new regions to reach customers globally with minimal effort, reduce support and validation costs by becoming platform agnostic across different customer architectures and use cases, and truly reduce the complexity to run traditional SaaS infrastructures by abstracting gateways and brokers and other resources typically found in remote desktop service remote application deployments. These gateways and brokers and licensing servers that you would typically have in an RDS solution, in Azure Virtual Desktop, these are part of the PaaS solution, which is managed by Microsoft. If we look at the numbers over on the right hand side, you can see 2 times increase in pipeline, 30% reduction in sales cycle, 50% larger deal size, and which ultimately lends to an increase of 12% in gross margin. Now this was recently, so a study was recently done with Microsoft and Forrester to interview a broad range of partners, from early stage companies with several million euros in revenue to well-established companies with several billion dollars in revenue. And the goal was ultimately to get a precise look at the quantified opportunity of working with Azure. And on average, Forrester found that the partners they interviewed saw that their leads increased 2 times. And of those deals, the deal size was 50 to 100% larger. Many of those deals closed 30% faster. All of the above contributes basically to a 12% increase in gross margin. So in plain English, Forrester found that technology partners with Azure see their pipeline increase significantly, and those deals tend to be larger and close faster. If we look at security for Azure Virtual Desktop, we'll be able to see how Microsoft blends security across the Microsoft ecosystem. Azure Virtual Desktop is closely linked with the Microsoft 365 security features, including conditional access, multi-factor authentication, and role-based access control. Built-in security features in Azure Virtual Desktop, such as Reverse Connect, which is a security feature which allows a user connection from over HTTPS and doesn't require any TCP listeners as you would find in a traditional RDS solution. You can use Azure Active Directory or AAD or AD authentication, and you can now have Active Directory joined virtual machines. All of this exists within Azure, and Microsoft believe their customers should fully trust the cloud that they choose, and they aim to provide the most secure and compliant cloud platform possible. Microsoft put privacy at the center of innovation design. In Azure, you'll find robust network and distributed denial of service protection or DDoS protection, customer controls to manage data and access, including multi-factor authentication for all roles, and operational security with restricted access and continual testing for vulnerabilities. Get end-to-end security for your virtual desktops with Microsoft's turnkey security solutions. Azure Active Directory lets you control access to your remote apps and desktops through Azure Active Directory. On-prem Active Directory can be synchronized with Azure Active Directory tenant to a common user identity for authentication and authorization to all resources. Azure Multi-Factor Authentication requires two-step verification for user sign-ins. Conditional Access Policy lets you control how authorized users can access your remote apps and desktops based on the network location of a user, time of day, client device, client app, and risk profile. Role-based access controls let you enable a fine level of control over management permissions in Azure Virtual Desktop. Virtual Private Network Gateways create a secure connection from your on-prem environment to Azure Virtual Desktop solution. You can also use ExpressRoute to create a dedicated secure connection between your environments. Microsoft 365, you can use Microsoft 365 security and management capabilities to enhance the security posture for your Azure Virtual Desktop environment. Security Center, recently renamed to Microsoft Defender for Cloud, lets you provide unified security management for your VNet and virtual machines. And Azure Information Protection lets you secure your data, documents, and email in your desktop environment. And for network security, you can use network security groups within your Azure Virtual Network to control traffic in and out of your session host virtual machines. You can also implement your own network security and firewall appliances in Azure for advanced protection. You need to open outbound port 443 in the firewall of your session hosts. And as I touched on earlier, Reverse Connect, which is only available in Azure Virtual Desktop. Azure Virtual Desktop is built on an optimized computing platform. I touched on the ability to connect to on-prem resources using a VPN or ExpressRoute and user authentication using Azure Active Directory. We know that the service integrates with System Center Config Manager and Microsoft Intune, or Microsoft Endpoint Manager as it's now known, and supports devices running non-Windows operating systems with Linux, Thin Client SDK and other tools. The service is made up of part IaaS, or Infrastructure as a Service, and part PaaS, Platform as a Service, and it provides virtualization infrastructure as a managed service, which is the PaaS part of the solution, and the IaaS components are the parts of the service managed by you. If we take a look at a high-level architecture of the service, over on the right-hand side, at the top, under your subscription, you'll see the parts of the service that you control. So the actual full desktop or remote applications and the operating systems that you can deploy in Azure Virtual Desktops. So Windows 10 Enterprise, multi-session or single session, Windows Server 2012 R2 and newer, and Windows 7 Enterprise full desktops. You also have control over the VM image and profile management, the user density, so how many users you want on each session host, VM sizing, scaling policies, and you have control over user management and identity and the network policies. The parts that Microsoft manage are the components that you would generally see in an RDS on-prem solution, including gateway, broker, load balancing, etc. And these would generally be individual servers, whereas in Azure Virtual Desktop, these are all managed by Microsoft in the background. As I touched on earlier, Azure Virtual Desktop uses Reverse Connect Transport for establishing a remote session and carrying RDP traffic. Unlike on-prem RDP solutions, Reverse Connect Transport doesn't use a TCP listener to receive incoming RDP connections, and instead it's using outbound connectivity to the Azure Virtual Desktop infrastructure, specifically to the Remote Desktop Gateway over HTTPS or 443 connection. Windows 10 Enterprise Multi-Session provides a client-like experience for the user including the user interface, security updates, Edge, Cortana, and Windows Desktop Search. It provides normal application compatibility with Office 365 and others, and the capacity for server-like user density. It's worth noting that for Windows 10 Enterprise multi-session, any applications that write user data outside of the user context or outside of HKey local machine won't work in the multi-session editions. So applications that write data outside of HKey local machine would need to use Windows 10 Enterprise single session. And public availability of new functionality in Windows 10 Enterprise offerings aligns with the Windows and Office semi-annual release schedule. I touched on Azure in an earlier slide. Azure is Microsoft's application compatibility promise. Microsoft is committed to ensuring your apps work on the latest versions of their software. If you encounter any issues, Microsoft will help you remediate those issues at no cost. So for Azure Virtual Desktop, Windows 10 Enterprise Multi-Session, virtualized apps that are currently running on Windows Server remote desktop session hosts will run on Windows 10 Enterprise Multi-Session as part of Azure Virtual Desktop. And for Windows 10 Enterprise Single Session, any applications currently running in any Windows 7 and Windows 10 Virtual Desktop environment will run on Windows 7 or Windows 10 Enterprise as part of Azure Virtual Desktop. And apps running on Windows 7 and Windows 10 client devices will run on Windows 7 and Windows 10 Enterprise as part of Azure Virtual Desktop. So there are some limitations. The Azure Virtual Desktop compatibility limitations and exclusions. There's limited redirection of hardware. Audio and video intensive applications may impact user experience, and 16-bit apps are unsupported on 64-bit Azure Virtual Desktop operating systems. Many customers are already eligible to use Azure Virtual Desktop as part of their existing licensing agreements. Access to Azure Virtual Desktop is available in Azure in subscriptions. The license to access Azure Virtual Desktop is associated with the user, not the device or the organization. So for clients, users with one of the following software licenses can use Azure Virtual Desktop to access instances of Windows 10 Single Session or Windows 10 Multi-Session and Windows 7. So if you have M365 E3, E5, A3, A5, the student use benefits, or F3, or M365 Business Premium, you're eligible to go ahead and deploy and access Windows Virtual Desktop or any Windows 10 licenses, VDA per user, Enterprise E3 or E5, or Education A3 or A5. So for server operating systems running in Windows Virtual Desktop, if you have one of the following licenses, you can run Windows Server in Azure Virtual Desktop. So RDS CALs with software assurance. So client access licenses similar to an on-prem solution. The Azure Virtual Desktop service recommends FSLogix profile containers as a user profile solution. FSLogix is designed to roam profiles in remote computing environments such as Azure Virtual Desktop. It stores a complete user profile in a single container. At sign-in, the container is dynamically attached to the computing environment of the session host using natively supported VHD and VHDX technologies. The user profile is immediately available and appears in the system exactly like a native user profile. Eligible customers of FSLogix get access to three core pieces of technology, namely the profile container, including the Office profile container, which roams the Office cache data, allows you to run Outlook in cached mode. Also OneDrive, Cache and Skype for Business global address list, and Windows Search Database. Application masking, another core technology, which allows you to minimize the number of golden images by creating a single image with all applications. It provides excellent application compatibility with no packaging, sequencing, back-end infrastructure or virtualization required, and Java redirection, which helps protect the enterprise from vulnerabilities of multiple installed versions of Java by mapping specific versions to individual apps or websites. So let's take a closer look at these core technologies. Looking at the containers, some of the benefits of using these core technologies. Containers essentially are SMB storage accounts in Azure. They use native Windows VHD capabilities with no hypervisor. They're easy to deploy and manage, completely seamless to the end user experience. They work with other application management platforms, easy to test, implement and manage, and reduce network and file system load. Profile containers place the entire user profile in a network-based container. Extremely fast sign-in times, help to eliminate profile corruption, and works alongside existing user environment management platforms. The Office 365 container places Office 365 cache data in network-based container, enables roaming of Outlook OST, OneDrive cache, Windows Search, and more. Office apps have native performance and behavior and works alongside other profile management platforms. Application masking allows application management without sequencing, snapshotting, packaging, or virtualization. All applications are installed in the base image, and only apps a user is entitled to are revealed. Application entitlements can be changed in real time. It works with fonts, plugins, and more, excellent application compatibility, and hugely reduces the number of golden images to maintain. Java redirection allows you to securely co-locate multiple versions of Java on the same base image. You can run each app or website with the specific version of Java required for full functionality, and use FSLogic's app masking to hide unused versions of Java when not needed. FSLogic's technology improves the performance of Office 365 Pro Plus in a multi-user virtual environment. It's now available at no additional cost for Microsoft 365 customers. Similar to Azure Virtual Desktop licensing, customers with any of the following licenses have access to FSLogic's. So the same M365, E3, E5, F3 or Business Premium, M365 A3, A5 student use benefits, the 2 Windows licenses or 3 Windows licenses, VDA per user, Education A3, A5, and Enterprise E3, E5, and RDS CALs. Azure Virtual Desktop is a complete service that can be managed for you or extended to meet your unique needs. Microsoft supports a robust ecosystem of system integrators or SIs, independent software vendors or ISVs, value-added partners, and hardware partners. This includes support for non-Windows thin clients. One of Microsoft's hardware providers, iGel, was the first to market with a Linux offering. Citrix have integrated their Citrix Workspace solution with Azure Virtual Desktop to deliver enterprise value and unified management around Azure Virtual Desktop. They've provided an optimized workspace environment and performance to include Azure Virtual Desktop workloads within Citrix Workspace for central access to all applications, desktops, and files. Provide hybrid cloud support to accelerate the move to Azure for on-prem customers by enabling management of on-prem and Azure Virtual Desktop workloads from one console. Simplified image management by allowing OSs and apps and user data on Azure Virtual Desktop resources and rapidly provisioning updates. And simplified image management, optimizing host performance accelerating application delivery and enhanced scalability for Azure Virtual Desktop. Azure Virtual Desktop and Citrix architectural guidance integrates with the management plane services of Azure Virtual Desktop. The box on the left contains the clients, Microsoft Remote Desktop clients or Citrix receivers. The box on the right contains the virtual machines and surrounding Active Directory, file server and user profile solution, FSLogix or Citrix UPM. And the box in the middle is the management plane that manages the connections between clients and virtual machines in Azure. And the box in the middle also provides PowerShell and REST interfaces to configure published apps and desktops and monitor troubleshoot issues, for example. The levels of integration into Citrix integration are essentially the two options. One option to utilize the full Azure Desktop set of components with Citrix Workspace to aggregate resource feeds from Azure Virtual Desktop and Citrix on-prem and cloud deployments, or to replace clients management plane services, agents, and user profile management service. There are other possibilities, but these are two that I've highlighted. VMware have also integrated their VMware Horizon Cloud solution with Azure Virtual Desktop to extend Azure Virtual Desktop capabilities to Horizon Cloud. Allows broad endpoint support with enhanced remote experience, global brokering with cloud-optimized architecture, real-time audio, video, and peripheral support, and enhanced user environment management, flexible desktop options and configuration, and hybrid environment support. Azure Virtual Desktop with Samsung DeX allows a full screen Windows 10 and Office 365 Pro Plus experience from Samsung DeX enabled mobile devices, providing Azure Virtual Desktop's experience on an Android endpoint, enhanced mobility and productivity with small and big screen experience, allowing customers to seamlessly switch from one app to another, and faster speeds, reduced latency with the new Samsung Galaxy S10 support for 5G and Wi-Fi 6. So just before I close out the webinar, I have a couple of calls to action. One is to get the end user experience estimator. I've shared a couple of links with these for these tools with you. The experience estimator will give you your round trip time from your nearest location to the Azure Virtual Desktop service, and the Azure calculator, aks.ms/wvd pricing, will take you to the pricing for Azure Virtual Desktop and let you understand the two different parts of the pricing, i.e. the licensing and the infrastructure costs. Thanks everyone for taking the time out of your day today to join this webinar, a high-level overview of Azure Virtual Desktop. It's great to see so many partners signed up to this webinar, which is testament to the ever-increasing interest in Azure Virtual Desktop and remote working. I hope you found the webinar useful, and if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat where they'll be forwarded to me and I'll respond to you directly. I'll leave my contact details on the following slide, so please do feel free to contact me with any Azure Virtual Desktop queries or anything Azure related, and I'll get straight back to you. Thanks again everyone, enjoy the rest of your day, your week, have a great Christmas, all the best for the new year, and do keep a lookout on social media for the next in the series of Azure webinars, where I'll be following up with an Azure Virtual Desktop deep dive.
Well, that was the webinar. Nigel, are you there? Because we've got a question. I don't know if you have visibility of the questions panel. Sorry, I was keeping an eye on the chat and I didn't check on the questions. Nathan Carr has asked if it was noted that Windows Virtual Desktop was renamed Azure Virtual Desktop. He says that he sees that there is a present product line in Microsoft portfolio in the Ingram Cloud Marketplace, and also in Intune management platforms, and also Azure Virtual Desktop in the Azure separately, suggesting two different products exist. Can you confirm that the Windows Virtual Desktop and Azure Virtual Desktop are the same or different products? And also, could you clarify the licensing entitlement for Microsoft 365 Business Premium users?
Hi, Esther. Yeah, I am here. Thanks for that. It's a good question. So yeah, I can confirm that they are one and the same. So the products on our cloud marketplace, if they still say Windows Virtual Desktop, it's because they've been packaged into a specific offering. I think we've got a few different SKUs and they're still just called Windows Virtual Desktop, but they are in fact Azure Virtual Desktop is the service that we're referring to. And for M365 Business Premium users, any user that has Business Premium license is eligible to go ahead and use Azure Virtual Desktop. One of my slides touched on lots of our customers are already eligible from a licensing standpoint to provision Azure Virtual Desktop and use the service. And M365 Business Premium is one of those licenses that gives you that capability.
Hi, Nathan. I think you are on mute now. If you want to, yeah, you can go ahead if you want to ask questions or if that answers your question. Nathan, are you there? All right.
Hi, sorry about that.
Hi. Yeah.
Hi. Yeah, that's covered it really. It's just the confusion with the Windows Virtual Desktop and the Azure Virtual Desktop. I noticed in the presentation you mentioned Windows Virtual Desktop as well. Obviously, seeing the product lines are different in certain places, it becomes quite confusing whether some users actually have access rights. So it's we've got clarification on that. Thank you.
No, it's good. It's a good point. And so yeah, it is going forward, and the name now is Azure Virtual Desktop, and any deployment of that service, no matter where it's called Windows Virtual Desktop, they're referring to it as the new named Azure Virtual Desktop.
Sure. Great.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Any other questions? I cannot see any more on the chat or on the questions tab. So I think that's it. Thank you very much for joining. As I said at the beginning of the webinar, you'll receive a recording, a copy of the recording tomorrow, and keep an eye on your emails for future webinars. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, hope you enjoyed the webinar, and do reach out to me if you have any questions or queries about anything you saw on there. I'll get back to you straight away. Thanks. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye. Bye-bye.